Hello, I'm Tyler Oakley here with 24 Seconds of Climate Reality. Did you know that more and more key financial institutions are recognizing that dirty energy isn't just bad, it's also a bad investment? Now that they see the light, they're divesting from fossil fuels and investing in renewables at record rates. And that's 24 seconds that can change the world.
What can change in a day? A solar array can power a community. A business can embrace clean technology. A nation can vote to reduce carbon pollution. Around the world, every day, people are taking action to fight climate change, enacting real solutions, and already seeing the benefits. Join us as we travel on a journey of progress around the world, exploring the path toward a better, cleaner future for all of us, and how you can help create it. What can change in a day? Our future. This is 24 Hours of Reality. 24 Reasons for Hope.
Welcome to hour 8 of 24 Hours of Reality. I'm so honored, you guys, to be one of your hosts for this remarkable event. Now, sure, I may not be as charming or attractive as your previous host, Ashlyn, but that is a very tough standard, you guys. She did an amazing job, didn't she? Now, during these 24 hours, we're seeing that the inconvenient truth that Al Gore and the Climate Reality Project have worked so hard to share with the world is having a positive impact here and now. People are getting on board. For example, this hour, we'll see that coal-fired power plant regulations in the United States signal that we are finally beginning to close the doors on fossil fuel. And over the next few hours, we'll be bringing you more compelling conversation, short films, and green man-on-the-street moments from Ian Somerhalder. But first, I'm one of the countless others who were inspired by our next speaker to educate ourselves and then help educate a new generation to take action against climate change. You guys, it's such a thrill for me to now introduce one of my heroes, the founder of the Climate Reality Project, Al Gore.
Thank you so much, and welcome to hour number 8 of this year's 24 Hours of Reality, 24 Reasons for Hope, and that means that this is the 8th reason for hope. And it starts with an action taken by President Obama, who showed historic leadership on the climate crisis, and over the past 2 years, unveiled new regulations involving the burning of coal that will forever change the makeup of the American energy system. More is needed. He tried to pass a crucial bit of legislation in his first year in office, and that's an old story that doesn't need to be retold. But this move by President Obama on regulating the emissions of global warming pollution from coal was a crucial step in the right direction at a critical time. The world needs leadership from the United States. And let me just pause on that for a moment because it's really important. Some people will sometimes say, wait a minute, this is a global problem, and the United States can't solve it on its own or by itself. Well, yeah, that's true, but that's also true of a lot of challenges that the world has successfully met with the leadership of the United States of America. Since the end of World War II, and especially since the fall of communism and the Berlin Wall, the United States of America has been the so-called indispensable nation, and I hope to our viewers around the world that doesn't sound like false pride from me as an American, but I think most people around the world kind of agree that that's the reality of the situation. What other nation is capable of leading the entire world? The United States has been able to do so because people around the world have had respect for the values that are at the heart of what the United States of America is all about. So naturally, when the world faces this unique global crisis with all this man-made global warming pollution being put into the atmosphere, again, using the sky as if it's an open sewer, and with the heat being trapped, raising temperatures and causing all of the terrible consequences that people know about. Unfortunately, people have been having to live through it, including here in this city during Superstorm Sandy. With all of that showing what a global crisis this is, there is no other nation other than the United States of America that can possibly rally the world community and bring the world together around the policy changes that are necessary to solve the climate crisis. So, what President Obama did with respect to coal-fired generation of electricity is really important. So this is an important reason for hope. These regulations are starting to close the door on dirty fossil fuels. President Obama, again, made what I believe is the best speech on climate ever made by a president of the United States, June 25th of last year, and he said that he was going to direct the EPA to put an end to the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from both new power plants and existing power plants. This was an incredibly bold move. Again, more is needed. By itself, this set of regulations will definitely not solve the problem, but combined with other things, it is a huge step in the right direction. And it enables President Obama to go to the negotiating session in Paris at the end of 2015 with the moral authority that will allow him, on behalf of our nation, to provide leadership to the entire world. And look at what has happened already since these regulations were announced. They've effectively halted the construction of any new coal-fired generating plants in the United States. As a matter of fact, this year, it's already the middle of September, how much new coal-fired generating capacity has been built this year? Zero. None. And many people feel there will not be any more new coal plants in the United States at all. These plans unveiled by the president to cut emissions from existing power plants by 1/3 before 2030 really represented inspiration to those of us who have been fighting to get solutions to the climate crisis. Again, more is needed, but already we can see the collateral benefits because these new rules for existing coal plants not only reduce global warming pollution significantly, they also at the same time cut conventional air pollution, particulate pollution like nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide by more than 1/4. That means a reduction in lung diseases. It means a reduction in asthma, avoiding up to 6,600 premature deaths, avoiding an estimated 150,000 asthma attacks in children, and avoiding almost 500,000 missed work days and missed school days. These regulations also shrank electricity bills by 8% roughly. So, health benefits, pollution control, economic benefits, lower electricity bills. It's a win-win situation all the way around. So, not just because of the president's regulations, but because of changing marketplace conditions, the new supply of natural gas played a role in this. The new low cost of solar and wind played a role as well. And also the activism by people who went out and said, we no longer want to have these coal plants near our homes, and we don't want new ones to be built. Already we've seen 178 coal-fired power plants closed in the U.S. so far, and even more, and just about that many slated for closure, and many proposed plants actually never starting construction because the days of coal are winding down. And there are now actually more jobs in solar energy than in the coal industry. So these are reasons for hope. Now, this is a global problem. And around the world, a lot of dirty coal-fired electricity generating plants are still being built. And I mentioned in the last hour that we have seen subsidies for the burning of fossil fuels to the tune of about $600 billion per year, and actually a lot more than that if you count the military expenditures that are aimed at keeping the sea lanes open to the oil fields of the Persian Gulf and all of the collateral expenditures. Some people say it's almost as much as $2 trillion a year in subsidies for fossil fuels. And in the past, the World Bank has been one of the principal funders of the construction of coal plants in other countries. But that's coming to a halt now. The new, relatively new president of the World Bank, Jim Young Kim, who is a terrific public servant, a hero of mine. He used to be the head of Dartmouth. He's a terrific guy, and he will be joining 24 Hours of Reality a little bit later on. But he announced a new policy that we have to take action, and under his leadership, the World Bank will not invest in any coal projects, with rare exceptions possible if some poor country is in desperate straits and has no other alternatives. I actually think that they need to spend money to create alternatives. But this is a huge step in the right direction. Now, I've mentioned these subsidies for fossil fuels before, but a lot of times people will say, oh, gee, isn't it going to cost us money to make this transition to renewable energy? Well, no, it will save us money to make the transition. And one of the many places where we can save money is by cutting out this $600 billion per year, up to $2 trillion per year in subsidies for the burning of fossil fuels. That just does not make sense anymore. It's also important to mention that some of these large carbon polluters, including some of the electric utility companies that burn coal to generate electricity, have been secretly providing funding to some of these dark money pools to try to impose new regulations to discourage the renewable alternatives to the burning of coal. We have also seen enormous expenditures for lobbying and campaign contributions, and in some ways, most sinister of all, the providing of huge amounts of money to some of these think tanks that are actually advocacy organizations that gin up phony so-called scientific studies designed to confuse people about the science of global warming. So the toxicity of this coal-burning industry needs to be addressed really across the board. We need to move to clean, renewable energy and get on with it. During this hour of 24 Hours of Reality, in some ways, this is a pivot point, because the fact that coal burning is going out of style, the fact that we are closing the door on the age of burning dirty coal, polluting the skies, and creating all of the health problems associated with coal is really an extremely hopeful sign of progress. But bear in mind, they are fighting back. And by spending all this money in the political system and on occasionally misleading television advertisements that are designed to give the impression that we've got all the time in the world to think about climate and We don't really need to worry because they're going to take care of it for us. That is absolutely unacceptable. And they've been putting out this idea of so-called clean coal. There is no such thing. And as people have come to realize that coal is not clean, it's all about pollution and profits based on the ability to dump pollution into the sky as if it's an open sewer, more and more people are coming around to the point of view we've got to adopt renewable energy. So all these steps that are closing the door on coal, they represent yet another reason for hope.
Thank you, Al, for always doing your part to educate all of us about climate reality and the things that we can all do to help. Now, the Climate Reality Project is already having, the impact that it's already having proves that when all of us act together, we can make real change. Tens of thousands of people have already taken the pledge to dedicate a day of action in the year to come. Right now, we're asking you to take part and join them. Now, don't wait. While you're watching, right now, pledge a day of climate action, whether it's voting, marching, or speaking out in your community. What can change in a day? With millions standing up together, what can't? Please, help make a world of difference. Go to 24hoursofreality.org to dedicate a day to climate action. Now, denial never solved anything, and it certainly won't solve the climate crisis. Climate change calls for the sort of can-do spirit that people have always turned to in times of great challenge. And that's why we're spending this 24 hours of reality focusing on the good news, that solutions to the climate crisis exist today, and where people are acting, we are seeing real progress, you guys. The fact is, we can solve the climate crisis. Let's take a look.
Carbon dioxide has reached levels not seen in millions of years.
Climate change is here and getting worse.
Extreme weather has wrought havoc all over the world.
It's happening here and now.
We are running out of damage by the water.
So there's been a lot of news about climate change. A lot of bad news, that is. And for the good news?
Right.
Well, there hasn't really been any. Until recently. Today we're facing the hard truth of climate change with the stubborn relentlessness of human will. And good news is happening.
Right. And now for some good news.
Every day, new solutions are emerging. And not just wouldn't it be neat if solutions, real solutions. Our ability to convert sunshine into usable energy is rapidly becoming more advanced and accessible. Which is great because every hour the sun is sending enough raw energy to Earth to meet the entire world's energy demands for a full year. And the cost for clean energy technologies is dropping. Right now, the cost of solar energy is equal to or cheaper than fossil fuel energy in about 79 countries.
I didn't even know there were 79 countries.
And the electric car market is booming thanks to falling battery prices. And guess who likes that?
Who?
All types of people from around the world are starting to embrace renewable solutions. Schools are being powered by clean energy. Financial institutions are realizing dirty energy is a bad investment. And businesses are finding that going green is good for the bottom line. Which leads us to more good news. These solutions are actually working. It turns out that what is good for the environment is also good for the economy in many ways, like reducing poverty, spurring innovation, and creating jobs. In 2013, nearly 6.5 million people were employed globally by the renewable energy industry.
Job creation. Brilliant.
Right. And while other industries are shrinking, renewables are growing as new technologies and capabilities are being rapidly discovered.
And here's some more great news.
This groundswell of support for renewable energy is forcing leaders and governments to take action. The two biggest carbon emitters, China and the US, have made moves to curb their carbon pollution and invest in cleaner energy technologies. And they're not alone. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is convening nations to forge a climate treaty that could unify the world to work together and lower our carbon emissions, transitioning us to a global clean energy society. We all know the bad news. Climate change is here. It's big, it's bad, and it's hurting us and our economies. But the important thing to know is that there is also good news. We have solutions here today, not dreams or wishes, real-world solutions that are ready to go and that are already saving money and improving lives.
Everyone's a winner.
If we rally around this good news and embrace solutions, we can forge the path to a clean energy future and make sure that progress is our new reality.
That's good news. Thank you for watching.
Al Gore has always told the truth about our climate reality, but always in a helpful and forward-looking light. You know, Mr. Gore once said, when people flirt with despair about the future, they're less likely to take the actions necessary to safeguard it. Now, here to lead a one-on-one conversation with the man himself is a journalist with a passion for the truth and this cause. Correspondent for Noticiero Telemundo, Vanessa Hawk.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's great to have you on board for this amazing event. And thank you so much, Mr. Gore. I'm so happy to be with you again.
I'm happy to be with you, Vanessa. Thank you for joining us at 24 Hours of Reality yet again. I really appreciate it.
No, it's an honor for me to be part of this. And I wanted to ask you first, what have changed in the past couple of years in the climate front?
Well, I think there have been two very big changes. Mother Nature has been sending messages that are far more powerful than anything we as human beings can say. The climate-related extreme weather events have really shaken a lot of people up. Here in this city, Superstorm Sandy, you know, when it came across the Atlantic, it crossed ocean waters 9 degrees Fahrenheit warmer, 5 degrees Celsius warmer than normal, and that made it a much stronger, more devastating storm and flooded the tunnels, and you know the whole story. But similar events have been taking place all over the world, including in Mexico, including just this week in Kashmir, in India and Pakistan. And these events that are 100 times more common today than 30 years ago have profoundly changed the global debate about the climate crisis. People feel it viscerally now, as Bob Dylan famously sang, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind's blowing. Yes. And people feel it now. The second thing that's changed is something we've been talking about a good bit today, and that is the sharp reduction in the price of electricity from solar energy and wind energy, and the reduction in price for other new sustainable technologies. And that has really changed the debate as well, because people now see, yeah, we can really solve this. So the road to Paris, where this global agreement is due to be arrived at in December of next year, is going to be a lot easier. It will still be difficult, of course, but it will be much more achievable than efforts like it in the past.
And you just mentioned something that is truly remarkable. We have been seeing a lot of advances in technology, and in many countries we have seen the parity of the price of the grid and also solar power.
Yeah.
When do you think we're going to see something like that here in the United States?
Well, we've already seen it in many states. In about 5 states, we've already reached grid parity, and actually the cost of new wind-powered electricity is just a fraction of the average cost of electricity. And there was an example recently in Minnesota on the Canadian border where a court had to decide on behalf of the electricity ratepayers what should be the source of all this new electricity that needs to be generated. And they evaluated all of the proposals, and solar electricity won right there on the Canadian border. So it's already competitive in much of the U.S. and will be in all of the U.S. In a few short years, because the price is still going down.
Something that you mentioned is really important. For example, in states like California, Arizona, New Jersey, you can actually lease the solar panels, and you don't have to give any money up front. But in other states like Florida, it's not actually a good investment for the people because of the legislation. So how important it is for the laws to actually accompany all this effort?
Well, it's a time-honored practice for big businesses with a lot of money who are afraid that they can no longer compete in a free marketplace to use their wealth and power to try to get legislators to put tricky laws in place that give them an unfair advantage. And so that's what you see in states that have put a tax on solar
Exactly.
panels,
That's what
for
happened.
example.
Yes.
That's outrageous. But something interesting is happening. There's a bipartisan resistance to this effort by the old coal-burning utilities to try to use the law to stave off the change that
Yes.
they know is coming. Republicans as well as Democrats who want to take advantage of cheaper electricity, and many of them would also like to reduce the pollution in the process, they have actually crossed party lines to tell their state legislators, hey, serve the public interest, not what this wealthy lobbyist wants you to do. So I'm encouraged about that.
And on the other side, I think that corporations and investors are realizing that this is going to be the future, so they will have to go with that, right?
Yeah, there's a big movement toward investment in renewables. There are great opportunities there for sure. Yes, to use an example, years ago we had these so-called subprime mortgages where millions of mortgages were given to people who couldn't pay them back. And it took a while for the marketplace and investors to realize, whoa, that doesn't have any real value, and they suddenly collapsed. Well, now a lot of investors are saying, hey, look, all this oil and coal, we can't possibly burn it all because the sky's already full of this pollution, and whether it's regulations or Mother Nature or local governments, whatever, it's not going to be able to be burned. And so a lot of people are saying, hey, let's stop investing in the dirty fuels of the past and start investing in the new alternatives of the future.
Mr. Gore, I wanted to ask you a little bit about President Obama and his climate action plan. Basically what he did is instructed the EPA to develop pollution guidelines and also to prohibit the construction of coal plants unless they use carbon capture and sequestrations. Do you think that this is a safe way to go?
I actually do think it's a safe way to go. I think it's an impractical way to go.
Okay.
And that's why there is actually not a single example of a commercial scale facility now. It is safe. Every part of the carbon capture and sequestration process has been tested, CCS. They trap the pollution in the air, and then they concentrate it, and they compress the CO2, and then bury it underground. But here's the problem, Vanessa. If you were the CEO of a large electricity generating company, and you decided that you were going to go down that road and you were going to use CCS because you wanted to stop the pollution, what you would have to do at the current state of the technology anyway is to take 1/3 of the revenue that's coming into your company and divert that to pay for the CCS.
Okay.
And there are very few businesses that can give up 1/3 of their revenues and still survive. And that's the simple reason why none of the coal-burning utilities have done it. And the public is not willing to pay so much money because there's so much of this pollution. The answer is to stop generating all that pollution. Now, I do want to add one thought.
Yes.
It is possible that some clever scientists or group of scientists will come up with some yet unknown way to trap the CO2 in a much cheaper, more feasible way. I sure hope so, because it would make a lot of things easier. But people have tried for a long time, and it's just in the nature of the problem that it's extremely difficult to go out in the air and capture smoke. It's just
it
kind of hard.
seems so complicated, so complex, the whole process of capturing the smoke and then buried it inside the earth. I mean, I think it's much easier to go with solar or to increase wind power. Talking about the developing countries, South America especially, we have seen that they are actually going in the right direction. How important is for these countries to develop with clean technology?
How long will it take?
How important is for them to develop it?
Oh, how important is it? Extremely important. This is a global challenge that requires a global response. But we're now seeing a lot of new steps in Peru and Chile and Brazil.
Uruguay.
Yes, it's very, very exciting. And Mexico has been one of the leaders in this in this whole process. For those countries that have abundant solar energy resources, which is most of them in South America, it really makes sense for a variety of reasons for them to move boldly in this direction.
Talking about in the international arena, we are 1 week away for this very important climate summit, and we know that the United States is actually participating. How important is for our country to participate fully, for other countries to join in the international arena, the situation with the climate now?
It's crucial because it's difficult for any country to change.
Yes.
This is a good change and they will benefit from it, but there are coal executives and other people in their countries that don't want to do it. And one of the easiest arguments they can make against change is to say, hey, look, if the United States isn't going to do it, then why should we? And that's what has happened. So if the United States takes that argument away and does move and does lead, then more likely than not, most of the rest of the world will follow.
Mr. Gore, you have been on both sides because you have also been on politics. Do you think this is going to happen? Is it going to have bipartisan support?
Yes, I think it used to, and I think it will again. But how long it takes will depend upon how active the viewers of this program and people who want to solve the climate crisis, how active are you willing to be?
What can we do about it? What can we do to maybe tell our leaders that this is the way that we want to go?
You can communicate with them directly, go to the meetings they have, go to the events where they appear. You can write them, call them, text them, email them, but do it with passion and conviction. And let them know that this is the top priority for you, and how these politicians react to it will determine not just your vote, but the uses of your energy. If you convince them, if you really mean it and are able to convince them that you will really help them if they do the right thing and really do everything to defeat them if they do the wrong thing, that can have a big impact.
And people know that, I mean, at the end of the day, the power is on the hands of the people, right? Because they are the ones that actually elect the politicians.
Yes, absolutely. Our democracy in the United States has unfortunately been diminished somewhat because of the unhealthy influence of big money in the political system. I wish it were not so, but it is so. Yet even in its diminished state, U.S. democracy still allows a committed, passionate individual to make a difference. And in the age of the internet, well-expressed opinions in blogs, on social media, connecting with others, can have a very powerful impact.
We can create a revolution, right?
I'm ready.
I wanted to ask you on the personal level, Mr. Gore, how do you feel to see this shift in perception and all this new generation actually moving forward for this climate reality that we're facing?
I'm very excited by it, very excited by it. I've been working on this for a long time, and when I see so many people joining the cause, when I see the thousands who have come to Climate Reality's training programs and have gone through them, it makes me very happy. And when I see more and more business leaders speak up and say, we want to be a part of this change, I feel very happy about that. We're going to win this, Vanessa. The only question is how long it will take us to make this transition, and the sooner the better.
Absolutely. If I give you 1 minute to let the world know one thing that they can do today, what would it be?
It's important to change light bulbs, but it's more important to change laws.
Yes.
And in order to change laws, you sometimes have to change elected officials, or at least change the minds of elected officials. So while it's important to change the light bulbs, while it's important to be an active, aware consumer in the marketplace and pick the products that are going to have a positive environmental impact. While it's important to speak up in your school or business or community, it is most important of all to communicate forcefully, with kindness, not anger, but with forcefulness. Communicate to your elected leaders and to any candidates who seek your vote about why you care passionately that we solve the climate crisis, and how you as a citizen will hold politicians accountable for what they do on this issue.
I was telling you right before we went on to the interview that I love the theme of this year's 24 hours. What do you think you are more hopeful right now?
Well, I love the theme too, thank you. And I think it's appropriate because the reasons for hope are real. Even a few years ago, it would have been difficult to stand up here and say to people that solar energy is spreading so rapidly, it's going to make up a huge part of our electricity generation and consumption. Now, I have no hesitation whatsoever because the facts have changed and we are going to win as a result.
I wanted to ask you about natural gas. How do you feel about it? Because there is some mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue, but ultimately it's fairly simple. Natural gas has only 1/2 as much CO2 compared to coal for each unit of energy produced. But natural gas is basically methane, and if some of that methane leaks directly into the air, it's way more powerful than a molecule of CO2, 82 times more powerful over a 20-year period. And so when people say natural gas is a safe or safer substitute, may not be, because they are leaking a lot of that methane. And by the way, some of the other environmental problems caused by fracking, drilling down into these rock formations and then blasting water down there to fracture the rocks, it's causing a lot more pollution of the water than the companies said that it would. So there need to be tight regulations on those practices. And because, again, of the leaking of natural gas or methane, until they stop that, I don't think it's an acceptable alternative.
We have been seeing and we have been hearing over the past couple of years so many advances in innovation. How important do you think is to encourage innovation?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. Just look at the benefits coming from these solar photovoltaic panels. Well, government research and private research and development spending funded the innovation that led to these new technologies. It didn't fall out of the sky. It was made, these innovations were brought about by scientists and engineers who were innovators. And we need more innovation now than ever before because these problems we have to solve are still extremely difficult. And just as I was saying about carbon capture and sequestration a few minutes ago, innovation there would be great. I'm not going to hold my breath on that particular example, but I have hopes, as I do have hopes that innovators will make a lot of these solutions easier.
Over the past couple of decades, actually, you have been passionate about this issue. Is there anything that has surprised you about climate change and the way that we're going?
Yes, I would say the one thing that has surprised me is when otherwise sensible people who I know to be intelligent and thoughtful somehow fall into the trap set for them by the climate deniers with false evidence and pseudoscience. It's been surprising that as many people have allowed themselves to be fooled by the carbon polluters. Abraham Lincoln famously said, You can't fool all the people all the time. There's much more to the quote, but I'll leave it at that. And I take comfort in President Lincoln's wisdom. People are waking up. The extreme weather events have been having an impact. And the experiences of people in many parts of this country who have lowered their electricity bills and saved money with rooftop solar and renewable energy. So I'm optimistic and will remain so.
Well, we are very optimistic, and thank you so much for giving us all this information and this platform to get informed. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank
Koch.
you.
Okay, Ryan, back to you.
All right, well, we are seeing remarkable progress in energy storage thanks to the march of technology. There are others who would prefer to maintain the dirty status quo of fossil fuels. The Climate Reality Project has worked with millennial documentary filmmaker Vanessa Black to examine some of the top carbon polluters and key climate deniers in the United States and see how they're working to stall action on climate change. In this series, Youth Fuel, she travels to Arlington, Virginia to peek behind the curtain of one organization that's on a mission to oppose any regulation that would put the brakes on carbon pollution. Americans for Prosperity might sound nice, but in fact, this organization has vowed to oppose climate legislation. And as we know, that's clearly no ticket to prosperity. While other nations continue to pay the high price of carbon pollution today with extreme weather and its economic toll. Now take a look as we investigate the real purpose of the group that calls itself Americans for Prosperity and the dark money that mysteriously fuels their mission, including their opposition to the EPA's regulation of greenhouse gas emissions and the pledge that they asked congressional candidates to sign, vowing that if they are elected, they would refuse to support action to help solve climate change.
Conservative group Americans for Prosperity brought its regulation reality tour to Grand Junction. Organizers told the crowd that the EPA plan would hurt businesses and drive up costs for consumers.
Americans for Prosperity. Sounds good, right? Let's dig a little further. In 2008, Americans for Prosperity circulated a no-tax climate pledge that vowed to oppose any legislation relating to climate change that included a net increase in state or local government revenue. Why would they do this? What are their motives? And who's in charge of Americans for Prosperity? We went to their headquarters in Arlington, Virginia to find out. I'm Vanessa Black. I'm a filmmaker and an activist, and I'm traveling around America to find out more about our biggest polluters and climate change deniers. We're going into Americans for Prosperity. For Americans for Prosperity? It's not? Oh, why don't they list it? I'm not sure. That's interesting. We've heard a term thrown around called dark money, but what does that mean?
Dark money is money spent by corporations, other donors who remain anonymous.
We asked Kurt Davies from Climate Investigation Center about the purpose of Americans for Prosperity and who's behind the organization.
Americans for Prosperity is an organization founded by the Koch brothers.
According to an August 2010 article called Covert Operations by the New Yorker magazine, Americans for Prosperity was started in 2004 by David Koch. And according to a study released in 2010 by Amherst Political Economy Research Institute, Koch Industries ranks 13 on toxic 100 air polluters in the U.S. index, and ExxonMobil comes in at number 4.
It is a political organization aimed at blocking federal regulation.
Americans for Prosperity are an organization that wants to have a public face, except the face that they want to show to the public is not their real face. The face that they want to show is that they are a grassroots, almost citizen-led organization that exists in order to try and help the ordinary frustrations of Americans become known. Now, that's not true. The reality is that they are an organization that are funded and very closely controlled by the Koch brothers that work to advance issues that actually benefit the Koch brothers financially.
It gives them a way to do grassroots, or we would call it AstroTurf campaigning. They go state to state. They can get out in public and be a public face on the campaign. The Supreme Court gave the EPA authority to regulate greenhouse gases under the Clean Air Act. Americans for Prosperity, they thought that was the end of the world.
I'm Tim Phillips, president of Americans for Prosperity. We're here in Billings, Montana. on leg 3 of our hot air tour. I hear you're a local agitator, Eric, on our free market issues. Is that right?
Absolutely. They went around the country trying to scare people, frankly, into thinking that the EPA was this new draconian bureaucracy that was going to impact their lives. The ads are super emotional.
My husband has been a coal miner since 1994. In the past 6 years, my husband has been laid off 3 times. The war on coal is a war on working class families.
And many of their ads are about how your own life will be impacted. You will be forced to do something you don't want to do.
I'm trying to get in touch with Tim Phillips. Although I couldn't get them on the phone, they responded to my email by stating they're an organization focused on economic issues and they don't take a position on climate change. But how is that true with their marketing?
One of Americans for Prosperity's tactics was to go out into House of Representative elections, senatorial elections, and get candidates to pledge that when they got elected, they would do nothing on climate change. They would never touch the issue of climate change. It was kind of drawing a line in the sand for these people before they even got to Washington.
They would say that you want to get rid of coal, this is a war on coal, and that sort of becomes, well, this is just anti-business, this is anti-American. And that has been a talking point for a while, that basically the things we need to do to address climate change are un-American.
They continue to attack through working with allies like ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and other local groups, and the State Policy Network, attack anything green that emerges at a state level, whether it's renewable energy policy or carbon counting, anything that is getting closer to sane climate policy, they will attack. This is the fundamental thing. Americans for Prosperity are hardcore climate deniers.
They're not using science. There's not a science-based argument to be made there. There is strong, compelling scientific evidence that this is happening, that it's human-caused, and that we need to do something about it to avoid dire consequences.
They are increasingly becoming more of an electoral organization, spending millions in our elections to defeat politicians who don't agree with the Koch agenda.
It's 75% of the American public believe that we're on the wrong track in terms of there being too much money in our elections. And what that means is that they don't have a voice.
Americans for Prosperity is a dark money group. It's a 501c4, and it has been running a lot of ads that it classifies as issue ads, like climate change.
But a lot of it is spent on ads and to get candidates elected who essentially will vote against the climate change policies. Americans may see an ad on TV. They don't know where that money's coming from, who's sponsoring that ad. If they knew this was money coming from the energy industry in order to support policies that benefit the energy industry's bottom line as opposed to dealing with climate change, they might have a different view.
There are so many corporations who are in favor of a carbon tax and politicians on both sides. Everybody knows that it makes sense to tax carbon in some way. Not only the revenue generation, but just how you start to ratchet down something that's bad, that is carbon in the atmosphere. As you tax it, you put a price on it.
Americans for Prosperity are in fact backed by some corporations and individuals who have a very specific agenda. And ultimately, their intentions are politically and economically motivated with a goal to oppose regulations in favor of climate control and environmental responsibility. We all live in this world. Why would we want to oppose regulations to help keep it safe for future generations? Join the growing movement to solve the climate crisis and fuel a cleaner future.
In energy storage. While we're seeing remarkable progress in energy storage thanks to the market technology, there are others who would prefer to maintain the dirty status quo of fossil fuels. The Climate Reality Project has worked with millennial documentary filmmaker Vanessa Black, which you just saw, to examine some of the top carbon polluters and key climate deniers in the United States and how they're all working to stall action on climate change. So, moving on from that, I think we should go ahead and kick it over to a Southern California singer-songwriter, someone who's a close friend of mine, actually, and a concerned citizen of our world. We're about to hear a beautiful song from her album Gypsy Heart called Try, which is what we're asking everyone to do today. Here's Colby Calais.
1, 2, 3.
Al Gore!
Put your makeup on, get your nails done, curl your hair, run the extra mile, keep it slim so they like you. Do they like you? Get your sexy on, don't be shy, girl, take it off. This is what you want to belong, so they like you. Do you like you? You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to give it all away. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try. No, you don't have to try. No, no, no. No, no. Get your shopping on at the mall. Take your credit cards. You don't have to choose, buy it all. So they like you. Do they like you? Wait a second, why should you care what they think of you when you're all alone by yourself? Do you like you? Do you like you? No, you don't have to try so hard. You don't have to give it all away. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to bend until you break. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to try, try, try. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try. No, you don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try. No, you don't have to try. No, no, no. No, 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 no. You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to give it all away. You just have to get up, get up, get up, get up. You don't have to change a single thing. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try, 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 try. You don't have to try. You don't have to try. Take your makeup off, let your hair down, take a breath, look into the mirror at yourself. Don't you like you? 'Cause I like you.
There is so much more to come on 24 Hours of Reality, including another of former Vice President and Climate Reality Project founder Al Gore's reasons to have hope. Conversations with the World Bank's Dr. Jim Kim, Bradley Whitford, Reed Hunt, counselor to President John Podesta, and Lieutenant General Russell Honore. And, of course, more from our green man on the street, Ian Somerhalder. More field reports that you guys need to see, and we probably got some more music coming your way too. Now, you guys can see all of the highlights of 24 Hours of Reality starting later tonight at 24hoursofreality.org. Now, even a child can understand that there's a lot to lose when it comes to climate change. In fact, perhaps the young people of the world are the ones best positioned to ask some tough questions on the issue. After all, they're the ones with the most at stake. And as the United Nations prepares to convene a special meeting of the world's leaders to collaborate on negotiating a new agreement that can ensure a clean energy future, the Climate Reality Project thought it'd be a perfect time to invite the young people of the world to ask their nation's leaders the climate questions on their mind. Now, what's amazing is how simple this complex issue can become when you see it through a child's eyes. And after viewing this montage of impressive youth from around the world, we'll see a single submission from a future climate leader from Canada.
My name's Amy Farrah and I live in England.
Hi, I'm Aiden and I'm from Hong Kong.
Hi, my name's Molly and I live in Malaysia.
Hi, I am Mika from South Africa.
I live in Croatia.
I live in Auckland, New Zealand. And I'm from Brazil.
Brazil.
From South Africa.
From France.
From the United States.
United States.
From Mongolia.
From Malaysia.
From Dubai.
From Romania.
From Mexico City.
From the Philippines. From India.
From India.
Western Australia.
So my question for all world leaders is this.
And my question to the government bodies is?
My question to the UN is?
And I guess the first thing I want to say, the first question I want to ask.
My question is?
My question.
My question.
My question.
My question.
I'd like to question.
I would like to ask.
I'm asking members of the UN.
Why do you sit here and pretend?
Why are we letting companies freely pollute the atmosphere?
Why are you allowing the palm oil industry to destroy Malaysian rainforests?
Why do global economic policies consistently stimulate and encourage reliance on burning fossil fuels?
Why is there no more emphasis on developing a generation who can take responsibility for the causes of climate change?
Why, in South Africa, a country overflowing with sunlight, don't we use solar panels?
Why not countries with similar consumption formulate region-specific laws and targets for the next decade?
Why not to put pressure on these companies to change their methods?
Why don't governments start creating sustainable modes of transport?
Para preservar o bem mais precioso que existe no planeta.
Why not change their focus, leave animosity and hatred and competition behind?
Why not incentivize people to use energy more efficiently?
Why not invest more resources in communities?
Why not strive to reduce carbon emissions?
Everyone has a stake in what happens to our planet.
The global problem requires a global solution.
It's time to act. So what are you waiting for?
Hi, my name is Edward, and I live in Canada. Climate change. It sounds long-term and it sounds low priority, but that's because the majority of people don't realize that it's a problem happening right now. And while 97% of climate scientists agree on the human causes of climate change, youth in my community still receive conflicting information arguing that we won't have to care about freshwater availability, that we won't have to care about lower agricultural yields and stronger natural disasters. So, to Prime Minister Harper of Canada, why did you choose to close our national science libraries and destroy the evidence for climate change? Instead, why not generate revenue by introducing healthy solutions like carbon taxes designed to stay? Our planet is rapidly shifting and change is undeniably coming. So why not ensure that our planet is headed in the right direction?
As we wind down hour 8, feels good to have learned that the United States is getting serious about winding down the climate pollution that comes from burning coal. And I don't want to speak too quickly, you guys, but it sure looks like we made it through my first hour hosting 24 Hours of Reality. Maybe a couple hiccups. And if we can do that, I say that we can do anything. Now, there's a lot more where that came from. More uplifting and inspiring conversation about our climate reality, more music, and just plain more. Don't forget to do your part, you guys. You can make a world of difference. Go to 24hoursofreality.org to dedicate a day to climate action. I'm looking forward to it all. We'll see you all in hour 9.